section is on what we call a crisis communication plan. And I should just, before I go on, so a lot of the tools that go with what we're covering here are in, like Joel said, he's making these links available, and there are also links at the end of this document, as well as documents that will be gathered and provided for you. So there is a lot of file support and documentation that will support the information that we're presenting to you today. The crisis communication plan is exactly what it sounds like. So how do you communicate with anyone after a crisis has occurred? Okay, so let's imagine that your business is flooded, okay? And so now your business is flooded, like a flash flood, and now you have to communicate to everybody, right? All the stakeholders in your business or operation, including your customers, how you're going to recover and how you're going to respond, right? So there's where we need a crisis communications plan. Most small businesses may not think of these groups as partners for communicating with their customers and stakeholders, but you have elected officials, public agencies, you have your neighbors in the community. There's going to be a lot of questions if there's an interruption to your business, employees and their families, right? I'm sure most of you have had to weather the storm of communicating to your employees and their families when your business might be back up and running, or when things will be safe for employees to return to work, but also your customers, your suppliers, and the news media, okay? Consider all of these, what I would call agents or actors in the crisis communications plan. And consider these your partners, okay? So you definitely want to have a good channel of news media. So if your business is interrupted, you can get the information out on the news so people understand, right? That will also help people understand how they can best support and help your business, right? With subsequent fundraisers, Kickstarters, whatever, okay? Word of mouth, advertising, marketing, whatever. So communicating with the PR and media is very important, but also letting your customers know as early as possible, communicating with your elected officials, public agencies for outreach, and incident command, right? So external to your organization, we have all these players, right? And then you have your information centers, right? And so you have the person who does HR, person responsible for sales, the person responsible for maybe regulation or regulatory affairs. And in small businesses, we know that all of these jobs, these hats inside the circle are primarily they're vested in a very small handful of people in your organization, right? And so the goal in a communication plan is to try and drive down authority and responsibility for these activities to get the message out as soon as possible to all of these actors and agents out here. As small businesses, I doubt that you've considered seriously how you communicate with news media, right? PR and public relations and press releases. I mean, that's something that the news will appreciate if you communicate through their media, as well as, your suppliers. If you have contracts in place and deliverable times, you're going to have to communicate that, okay, hold up, suppliers, don't deliver those. And that's also going to buy you some time between the delivery of your products and when you're actually going to need them, okay? And so for the crisis communication plan, I've actually created some links here on how to write one, how to build a phone tree to go with your org chart, and how to build basically a crisis communication kit, okay, to build an actual kit around a communications plan. And so, again, some things to think about in crisis communications, okay? Are your telephones dedicated? A lot of us are doing business on our cell phones, and cell phones are unreliable. I can't keep my cell phone charged for a full day. So do you have landlines? Do you have a second line of communication set up through even internet protocol phones, right? If you're off site, do you have a fax machine? Okay. We're in a time now where a lot of people just don't use fax machines anymore. But since they're tied to the phone lines, they're going to be most likely to survive a business interruption. And so physical landlines versus a VoIP system would be another backup solution, having a physical telephone line. Also, any electronic notification information or systems that you use, those are going to be important as well. So knowing all of the contact information, the emails, access to a info inbox for any communications that is ancillary to like your web server, right? So having a backup system to your general communication, your website or your email platform for your business, okay? Chances are, if your business is going to go down and the power is out and your servers aren't going to work on site, you want to have all that information backed up somewhere, either physically in a handbook or backed up to a hard drive that you can take with you, that you keep in your safe, you can carry that with you, or some other format of information that you can use to communicate. So the communications plan itself should include hard copies of your emergency response, business continuity, and your communications plan, okay? I recommend that you have 3 copies. If you're in a small organization and you only have 5, 10 people, then maybe 2 copies, but always have extra copies of your plans. And make sure that you have site and building diagrams, all of your safety and health information, property loss prevention, physical and cyber information for cybersecurity, fleet safety. Okay, all of these different topics can be inside a communications plan. If you think about it and you're running a warehouse and you have fleet and transport vehicles coming and going, you're going to have a way of communicating with them, the egress to the building, if they show up, where to turn around, directing flows of traffic and things like that as well. And so anything that deals with mitigating the recovery time, and also documenting things as they occur. Okay. So generally when a crisis happens, what will happen is shock, right? Oh my gosh, this just happened. Now what do we do? And so if you're documenting events as they unfold, that'll put you into the active mindset instead of a reactive mindset. And so you'll be proactively documenting things as they happen, and that will provide support for any subsequent, filing or reporting or anything like that. Using message boards and communicating, both using whiteboards inside the physical space to communicate crisis actions so people know where to go to follow instructions, or even message boards on like your website, right? So having a separate forum as a component so people can communicate internally in your organization. All right. And then I always like to remind people, don't forget to have extra pens, pencils, paper, all the basic stuff that you'll need to continue actively, operating as an organization or business. Okay. I always like to keep extra pencils and pens and paper around just in case I need to be able to document something. So make sure you have those.